Yo, Tom Fiddzy here with my review of The Mandalorian Season 3. It has officially started. We are on Book of Boba Fett episode... What episode are we on now? 5? Episode 5. And it was all Mandalorian. I am honestly not sure how the fan base is going to react to this. You know, so many people were comparing Book of Boba to The Mandalorian, saying, oh, it's not as good as The Mandalorian. Then there was hype that Din is going to turn up in this episode based on the little music cue at the end. And then this episode of Book of Boba Fett fixes everyone's criticisms about the Book of Boba Fett by just giving us an episode of The Mandalorian. I'm confused. I'm not sure how to feel about this because what we saw was absolutely fantastic. It pushed the overall narrative of the Favreau-verse, the Filoni-verse, however you want to group these, you know, the Mandalorian mini-verse in Star Wars. It pushed that narrative forward by a long way. It did some very critical setup so that when we get to Mandalorian Season 3, we can just jump straight into it. It potentially put in some stuff for Rangers of the New Republic. Maybe that series is still going on. Maybe it's going to be woven into other things. Some interesting lore stuff as well. And some big implications for Mandalorian Series 3. It didn't really push anything about Book of Boba Fett forward, though. Just setting up why Din is going to help, you know. So yeah, it's weird that it took a whole episode just to get that. You know, he could have turned up and then explained that back when we get to Mandalorian Season 3. But I'm sure this episode is going to absolutely help Mandalorian Season 3 because we can just get into whatever he's going to be doing, you know, get into Mandalore. He has a reason to go to Mandalore now. So much setup, so much hype for the next episode of Book of Boba Fett, seeing them together again, and so much hype for The Mandalorian Season 3, potentially, as I said, Rangers of the New Republic. And it makes me straight away feel that Boba Fett is going to be a big, important character going forward in Mandalorian Season 3. Now they kind of have, both The Mandalorian and Boba Fett have two very, they're kind of very similar. Both, you know, foundlings, or Boba is the clone of a foundling. Both kind of discarded from Mandalore in a sense, mistreated by other Mandalorians. As we saw with Din in this episode, both kind of lost, trying to find their way. This is the way. What is the way? That's what's going through their heads. So they've got very big similarities in this, you know. Both Lone Rangers who were seeking more. You know, for Boba Fett, it was finding a tribe. For the Mando, it was finding a family, seemingly, an heir. He misses Grogu. So let's break this down. I really want to know your thoughts. How do you feel about there being an entire Mandalorian episode smack bang in the middle of Book of Boba Fett with only one little thing and one hint really connecting the two series? Like, all throughout, I'm like, okay, they're just going to show where he's at, and then he's just going to get the phone call. And he's like, I thought maybe when he went to like the Forge and met up with the Mandalorians, that he'd get the phone call and then he'd go off world. And then he got in the duel, and then I looked at the time and we were like almost done. I'm like, it just keeps going. Then he was building the ship. I was like, we're running out of time. So let's break it down. Let's get into this. Regardless of whether or not you think it's a good episode of Book of Boba Fett, because as an episode of Book of Boba Fett, it's not a good episode because Boba Fett isn't even in it. It's just the book. But as an episode of Star Wars, this is fantastic. So let's break this down. We start off with some really cool, like going into a butcher house. The concept art had like proper cow heads, and they just went for like cow carcasses. I guess overall cheaper than making loads of plastic, rubbery space cow heads. But it still looked cool. I really like what they do with the Klatooinians in these new series. You know, they've made them go from a background species, so a really cool species, this like kind of just this like gruff bulldog like species. You know, they really fit the kind of butchers that you saw in this. We saw one bite. The masks look great. How you can get like the human lips going through there. Yeah, I really like what they're doing with the Klatooinians. They've really upped that species. And yeah, we get this really cool butcher house, new kind of scene for Star Wars. It's so weird seeing so much being done manually by hand, but obviously it's a front. And we just see the Mandalorian just having a bad day. He's back to bounty hunting. He's back to being a hunter. And we just once again see, you know, why Boba Fett, why Fennec are tired of this job. Because it's not a good job. He goes in there. He's like, everyone, can you just leave? Let me just do my job. And no, they choose to fight. He gets hurt. It's good to see just a human using the Darksaber. He uses the Darksaber. He's embracing it. But he's a human. He's not good with it. And we finally see something that I don't think we've ever seen, at least in the canon Star Wars. Someone using a lightsaber and cutting themselves with it. You know, yeah, you can wield a sword and cut yourself with a sword, but you cut yourself with a lightsaber, it's a lot more dangerous. And we see that here. I like the lore thing that the more you use it, the heavier it gets. You know, almost kind of makes it an anime sword in that regard. If anyone's watching One Piece, the stuff with Zoro right now, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the sword has its own kind of will and life, and you have to be in balance. And in this sense, you know, if it's getting heavier and heavier the more you use it. If you're not used to it, it's almost as if the sword is choosing you unworthy. It gives it a really mystical property. Once again, we get that ties to House Vizsla as well. So he goes and meets up with the Mandalorians. He confirms that his mission has been done. His awesome spear that I thought was like a big part of his character, big good look for him, gets melted down. But we find out that he wants to go see Grogu again. He's missing that. We get some really cool lore and stuff with the Mandalorians. Find out a lot more about what happened. Talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about Grogu. So the spear gets melted down into something for Grogu. And we don't know what it is. We know it involves chains. And it gets put in a little bag that kind of looks like Grogu's face. We don't see it. In my head, I was like, it has to be a Mandalorian helmet. How cool would it be? Grogu in a little Mandalorian helmet with his ears sticking out. I don't think it is that, based on the fact that we saw kind of like chainmail. But how cool would it be if we get Grogu in a tiny little Mandalorian suit with a little Mandalorian jetpack? I don't think it is, because it has to fit in that bag. So I'm gonna guess like either gonna be a chainmail vest or like a necklace or something, maybe. I want it to be a helmet though. I really want it to be a little helmet, but I don't think a helmet is going to fit in that bag. And it's weird that the whole spear got melted down into just a few little bits. Maybe there was some more and we didn't see. But we know when Grogu returns, he's going to get a new look. And there's a mystery of what's in the bag. What do you think is in the bag? So yeah, he wants to get Grogu back and see Grogu again. But we find out that connections are not the way of the Jedi. But for the Mando, connections are a very real thing now. For Mandalorians, it's about sticking together. Even though the ones that we've seen haven't necessarily been sticking together, have very much been at odds throughout the new canon. All the warring fractions, it seems a bit counterintuitive, but no, they're all about sticking together. Jedi, it's not. It's not about making connections. The Mando has seen the significance of connections, and he's the one missing it. I'm sure Grogu is feeling the same. And now it almost seems like he's done his mission. And now he wants to undo it by going to get Grogu back. Maybe he now feels that being with the Jedi is actually a worse place to be. Yeah, not sure how I feel necessarily about that. At least it means we can see Skywalker again, maybe. And at least it means that Grogu potentially won't be there, you know, when the bad stuff happens, the dark times before the sequels. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about the fact that he might go and get Grogu back and maybe run away with Grogu. that'd be interesting, unless we find out that the Jedis have changed their ways. I'd like to know Mando's reasoning for this. At the end, he gets kicked out of the Mandalorian club, the Creed, because he was honest. He could have lied, but he stuck to honor. He showed his helmet. He did it for genuine reasons. And he suffered for that. And again, another really interesting thing. He lost Grogu, fulfilled his mission, did that, and then they just kicked him away. He's got this burden of the dark saber. See, I think, again, kind of like Boba Fett, he's a bit lost. He's a bit discarded. Not discarded on the sands of Tatooine, but just discarded and lost. And now he's trying to find his tribe. For Boba, it was the Tuskens, and for the Mandalorian, it was Grogu. So, yeah, that's interesting. And as I say, he now has a reason to go to Mandalore, and that reason is that underneath there's like some mines and some water or something in there, and he has to go there and, I don't know, get some vision or some Star Wars nonsense, which will once again prove that he can rejoin the Mandalorian ways. So yeah, he has a reason now to go to Mandalore. He said he didn't care about what happened to Mandalore on the throne, but he has a reason. We saw the bombing of Mandalore. It was so cool seeing all those TIE bombers going overhead, just dropping bombs. We saw the live action version of the weird Shield City. Got completely nuked, and then Terminator 2 Judgment Day got referenced. And that looked really cool with the Mandalorian helmets and the probe droids, and the droids from Rogue One's, the security droids. Yeah, that was a really cool scene. Great little homage to Terminator 2 Judgment Day. You know, maybe a little bit too far for Star Wars, but it was still a really cool little homage. Nonetheless, great scene. That was awesome, like wallpaper. That. Yeah, it's just so much heavy stuff on, like, now predicting what's going to be Mandalorian Season 3. Reasons to go Mandalore. Reasons to get Grogu back, potentially. Would like to know a little bit more. What's that confrontation going to be? Is he going to, you know, is he going to take... because we've got Vizsla mentioned in this. Is he going to maybe try and take the lessons of the fact that there was once a Jedi who was also a Mandalorian? And is he going to try and get Grogu to be that next Mandalorian Jedi? Maybe that's his plan. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So then, anyway, the Mandalorian goes off after, you know, having a very shit day. And his day keeps getting shitter because, you know, you see the... what I'm liking about the Book of Boba Fett is that you're just seeing the normalities of life in Star Wars. You know, he's trying to get on a plane, a space plane, and they're like, can you get rid of your weapons? He's like, it's part of my religion. He's like, no, you could just see his frustration, like, oh. So he's taking them all off. The classic joke of the guy who's got all of the weapons. And it's just like, then he's just having a sit on this space plane because he lost his ship. He's really like down in the dumps, Mandalorian. He gets to Tatooine. It also gives this side of Star Wars where it's like, you know, people are just living their lives and there is some stuff going well. It was also great to see Initiative. I'm going all over the place. There's just so much excitement. He gets to Tatooine, and then we get the next half of the excitement, which is in the next series of Mandalorian, he's going to need a new ship. And we see that. And they spend time on it here, so we don't have to spend time on it when we get to the Mandalorian Season 3. His new ship is an N1 Starfighter. The second I saw it, I was like, he's clearly going to like scrape the paint off so that it's silver. And he really strips it down as well. I'm not quite sure how I like all of like the bits missing. But it's kind of cool because George Lucas's philosophy with like the M1 Starfighters and the roll ships, that they were going to be very sleek, very clean, very shiny, to make in contrast to the ships that we see in the original trilogy, where they're boxy, there's bits missing, they're bumpy, they're dirty. You know, there's panels loose, you know, especially like in the B-Wings. You can see the engines and the wires. I mean, that was to show that they're two different times. You know, one's a war time, got to cobble things together. The other one's like, it's times of peace. We can... It's about art, it's about style, it's about looking nice and clean. And then you got this M1 Starfighter that's like a mix of the two now. it's sleek, it's clean, but it's got panels missing, and it's bumpy, and it's boxy, and it's you know, it's like an X-wing fused with an M1 starfighter in that regard, and it's really cool. I really like it. Yeah, just some of the panels missing kind of made me go a little bit like, well, that looks a bit weird. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what, thematically it really works, and it is a cool looking ship, a really modded custom M1 starfighter. There was quite a few like little gags and jokes when they were making it, but it was all good. I like how the droid party in what's her name, Pele, is it her name, and little workshop is growing all the time, and really makes them all like little characters. We saw, I think this is the first live action Womp Rat ever. The little bits with the scurriers were cool. We got that droid from like Jedi Fallen Order. I don't think it's the same one, but just one of them droids was there as well. So that's a cool little thing. That was a very cute character. I like how, you know, this is where you're like, this show, you can tell they got some money, and you can tell that they care, because they didn't have to show that droid chasing a scurry around as its own like little subplot, but it was there, and it was happening. So yeah, lots of fun in that. Like I say, some of the stuff kind of seemed unnecessary, you know, just her blabbing on, and like, I dated the Jawa once, very hairy. Yeah, funny joke, but it was a little bit like, wow, this episode's like dragging on to Mandalorian stuff, and we're not even getting into the Boba Fett stuff, you know? But, hey, I did notice actually in one of the other episodes that you see the Jawa's hands, and you see how furry they are. I think that's like the most Jawa we've ever seen. But yeah, cool stuff there. This series has given us some good stuff with the lore of Tusken Raiders, and now we're getting some stuff with Jawas. They just like, you give them a list, and they get the stuff. Where do they get the stuff? Don't ask questions, but we find out they just nick it from other people's ships, and they've been nicking them from Pike ships, Pike Spice Runners. And so that also confirms that they've brought some of their ships in as well, and that their presence is growing. We got them talking about people were scared of them. The authorities aren't even going to do anything. I did think about that, because we saw the X-Wings in this episode acting like police, and it's only 2 X-Wings. They can't get involved with the Pikes, so they're just kind of ignoring them, as we saw here. Do you want to fill out the paperwork? So yeah, we got the hints there that just people aren't happy with the Pikes coming in, but the fact that the Jawas have been nicking stuff from their ships makes me think that one, maybe there's going to be an instance where the Pikes get in their ship and they try to, but they can't, because, you know, those important parts have been missing, have been taken away from their ship. And 2, maybe the Mando is going to recruit some of these Jawas, you know, when we get into the war, and they're like, there's some ships over there, I'll give some money to the Jawas, you know, I spoilt them, they'll probably help me out, they might do me a favour, and they can go in and sabotage the ships. And then Boba's got good relations with the Tuskens as well, if any of them are still around. So yeah, the Jawas and the Tusken revolution come into Tatooine, maybe. One by the Mando, one by Boba Fett. So that's really cool. And then well, anything else I want to say? Like I say, I'm just thinking it all off the top of my head right now. This is quite a long video. I apologise. Not hitting that YouTube algorithm. Not getting on the trend of the 30-second long shorts. I apologise. Or do I? Because I just love talking about Star Wars. I think that's kind of like about it. Then he goes up. We get that stuff kind of tying into the New Republic. We get the guy back, Kim from Kim's Convenience. He's like, you know, I'm doing some investigations into what happened to some Imperial Remnant stuff. And, you know, you look a bit similar and that. So he's doing some investigation stuff there. That was definitely hints and set up for whatever is going to be, or what was going to be maybe Rangers of the New Republic. Because we know he was going to appear in it, I believe. So yeah, I'm wondering how that's going to tie into the next series. But yeah, his new ship's good. The Mando, goes down. Fennec shows up. Boba Fett recruits him, and we see the friendship of them two. He's like, I'll do it for free. And then at the end, he's like, I just got to go meet with a little friend. Who is that little friend? His new N1 Starfire is now a 2-person ship. There's a little bubble. You know who's going to be sitting in that little bubble. Grogu at some point in his Mandalorian helmet, making millions of gifs of him looking out the window, being all happy, throwing up. But is that who he's referring to right now? You know, is he like, oh, I've got a dangerous mission with Boba Fett. He needs me to help me fight in a war. I better go get Grogu. He'll help us out. Or is the little friend going to be somebody else? Trying to think who it could be. I doubt it's Frog. That is Frog Lady. I doubt it's. Oh, it can't be Diagonal because he's dead, unfortunately. So yeah, I do wonder who it's going to be. It's got to be Grogu, right? How hype would it be if next episode we see Grogu? Boba Fett riding on a Rancor and Grogu in a Mandalorian helmet riding in an M1 Starfighter. What a fantastic episode that'll be. But it does feel a little bit strange that he would just go get Grogu now and not wait yet. And then would that mean we got another episode of The Mandalorian season 3 in the middle of Book of Boba Fett with him getting there? I wonder if it is maybe going to be somebody else. But I just can't. I'm just blanking onto who that would be. I guess it would be Grogu. Let me know below who you think. The little person that the Mandalorian is going to get. Oh, and shout out as well that we saw the pod race scene and we saw the exact same shot of him going through, and he like zip round, and then we see the ramp. We see like the houses where Aura Singh was like looking over. That was really cool, seeing the pod race track and getting that exact same shot. I kind of wish that we saw one go past, or like we saw a wreckage and it was like Sebulba's pod, and you're like, ha, he rebuilt and he crashed again or something. We see Neva Key wandering around after he got lost. He's back. In the canon, that's his little friend Neva Key turning up. I doubt it, but yeah, who's the little friend that the Mandalorian's going to get? What do you think of having a Mandalorian episode in the middle of Book of Boba Fett? What do you think of this episode overall? And how do you feel about the Mando potentially trying to get Grogu back from Boba Fett? And did you miss Boba Fett as well? I miss Boba Fett. I was looking forward to some more Bantha memes, but we didn't get that in this episode. Any final thoughts? Yes, one more before I close up. That Ring Planet, Eckhart's Ladders, gonna love that, combining Star Wars and Halo together. It looked really, really cool. I really want to check out that planet a lot more. They built the assets for it. This is where like filming on the volume and stuff really, really comes alive, where you can just have that in the background, you know, and you're just doing your scenes and you just got this like space city in the background, like just so casually. Really, really cool. Don't ask how the atmosphere and stuff works in that place, but well, yeah, that really adds some sci-fi into Star Wars, you know. When you see structures like that, you know, often you just go to like desert planets and it's like some little shacks and stuff. But no, here you've got a really sci-fi city in Star Wars. And sometimes it feels a little bit weird to kind of see that, you know, very Mass Effect, as I said, Halo, obviously. But I liked it and I want to kind of see more interesting places like that. You know, they got the technology in Star Wars. So, yeah, let's see it. I thought it was a fantastic episode. Definitely a great episode of The Mandalorian. As I said, for an episode of Book of Boba Fett, not the best Boba Fett episode, but a great, great episode of Star Wars. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.